let's talk about that. And he even names those two masters for us. There's two things. He gives two masters for us. There's God, and then there's money. And that word money in the original language the Bible was written in, it's actually an Aramaic word called mammon. And that word mammon can describe money, it can describe wealth and riches, but it can also describe like possessions and property and those types of things too. Like money and things that we have. But it's deeper than just that. The word mammon implies the things, the treasures that we put our ultimate trust and security in. That's what that word means. And so the word Jesus is using here is referring directly to the treasures and the things that we put our trust and our security in. And the implication is instead of God, apart from God. And I think it's fitting that, this Bible translation translates it money, but if you look at most English translations, it'll translate it wealth or riches or money. And I think it's fitting because when we look at the king of the kingdom of the world, and we see that in our society, I think for sure in American society, but I would say the whole world, the king of the values of this world is money. And what I mean by king is the thing at the top that sets what the priorities, the ambitions, the agenda of our lives are meant to be. That's what the king does. He sets what the kingdom is about, what the people in the kingdom are about. And the people follow the leading of their king. And so money as a king and God as a king in these two different kingdoms that Jesus is contrasting here. Let's look at what these kings prioritize. When we think about money and money in our culture and just in general, the king of money says that it elevates self-preservation, personal comfort, personal prosperity as the highest values. And what I mean by that is the things that we gauge success off of, that we gauge security off of, where we find hope and peace in. That's what the king of money says the kingdom is all about. And that's really the American dream in a nutshell, right? It's doing everything that we can to achieve and maintain this personal comfort and control over our own livelihood. Like when our society when our society defines who is the most successful, who is the most stable, who is living a healthy and full life, it says those who have more than enough to live on, who are living from this place of abundance, who have the newest tech, the newest toys, the newest things that are current with the trends and all of that. That's what the picture of having your life together is. It's having no debt, it's having no health issues, it's being able to handle any crisis that could come your way on your own. That's what the kingdom of the world defines as stability and peace and health and all of that. Whereas, as we've been looking at the Sermon on the Mount and diving into the words of Jesus, in his kingdom, he elevates love. Love as the highest value. Love as the highest source of hope. And the implication of that is the love of God is the source of security. And what we gauge our thriving and success on is the love of God and growing in the love of God. It's a different value. Do you see how those two values are completely different to one another? One of them is entirely inward, focused on self-preservation, whereas the other one is focused external and outward in this love of God above all things and love of others. That leads to this love of others with everything that we have. These two kingdoms aren't the same, and they can't be. That's why Jesus says you can't serve two masters at once, because they're two completely different masters. And with these word pictures of the good eye versus the bad eye and the masters, Jesus is saying that our hearts are incapable of being divided. There can only be one master of our priorities, one master of our ambitions. Because eventually one will win out over the other. Self will eventually win out over an other-centered love, or vice versa. Our eye can either be full of light or darkness, not both, because our choices, our actions, the way we live our lives are shaped by what we prioritize. Our actions reflect what we prioritize. So if we are prioritizing the treasures of the earth, we can't be prioritizing the treasures of heaven.